Dydd da, a pur welcome hui in with art of the Kroeder Kroghen. Music in Cornwall is today's main topic, with news of the creation of a new Cornish musical organisation, Kernewek, the Cornish Music Guild, and an interview with Lorna West, a composer originally from Boston, USA, who has now made Cornwall her permanent home. Music has been a major part of the Cornish way of life for so long, it's surprising that Cornish musicians haven't formed their own organisation until now. It's true that the male voice choirs and brass and silver bands have federations and larger organisations, but as yet there hasn't been one umbrella organisation representing the interests of music and musicians in Cornwall as a whole. Now that deficiency has been remedied by the formation of a new guild called in Cornish Kernewek, the Guild of Cornish Music. I spoke the other day with Jane Lofthouse, who is the secretary and principal organiser of the Coethus. Jane, what actually led you to form Kernewek, and what function does it perform?
When we held the Composers' Workshop in April 1986 in Camborne, we realised that there was a tremendous amount of music being written in Cornwall and a tremendous number of performers, and it all seemed to be happening in little corners. None of the composers seemed to know each other or work together, and the music that was being written by Cornish composers didn't seem to be being performed, and we felt this was a tremendous neglect, and we felt we needed to bring it all together and make people aware of the music that's being produced. We're also forming an archive, and this is to preserve music, which is old music, much of the stuff which might have been thrown away otherwise, and also to preserve the music which is being written now. Cornwall has a very wide range of music performed in it. There's the brass bands, the male voice choirs, orchestras, the folk music, a tremendous amount of serious music as well. We have among our members George Lloyd, Philip Cannon, quite famous serious musicians.
This is modern classical music?
Yes, you would call it modern classical music, yes, I suppose. So Inglis Gundry, who's now in his 80s, who's very much in the folk tradition, but bring it into serious music, sort of bridging the gap in much the same way as Vaughan Williams did, I believe was his teacher. Geoffrey Self, a Camborne man who's written for a wide range of types of music. Yourself, in the more traditional field of music. Connie Ayton was won the Pan-Celtic Festival. One of our current projects is to perform Thomas Merritt's cantata, The Shepherd of Israel, in St.Ives, which is where he wrote it. And this will be its first performance for many, many years.
And do you see that as part of the Coethus's function, the Guild's function, to promote musical events and music throughout Cornwall generally?
Very much so, yes. Another project is to do concerts based on different areas in Cornwall, a concert for Falmouth, in which we'll bring up as much music that has been produced by that area or written about the area as possible.
Henno Jane Lofthouse sgrifeniades hag odynores an Goethus noeth ilo in Kerno Coethus ilo Kernewek, the Cornish Music Guild. Now Jane mentioned Geoffrey Self, a Camborne man who is quite well known by competitors in the Camborne Music Festival and Cornwall Music Festival as well. Here is a brief extract of one of his compositions called Sonatina. Now, another Cornish composer who has achieved considerable success has a very different provenance to Geoffrey Self. Her name is Lorna West, and she comes originally from America. Hi bennen a dworth Boston in USA. Mesmahi lemon triges in Kerno, ha mir gausisgenji in kever hi ilo. Lorna, how is it that you came to Cornwall in the first place?
Well, I came here because I knew some Cornish people who had been in the Boston area, where I come from, in Massachusetts, and visited here, and fell in love with the place, and couldn't wait to come back. At that time, I didn't ever think it would be possible to come here.
You've talked about the Cornish harmonies that attracted you. You think there's a distinctively Cornish harmonic sound, do you?
Well, I feel it, whether it was my imagined sound of Celtic music or the sound of Cornwall being different than other sounds of music, because I am a musician and composer, I felt maybe it could be traced back to the Methodism in my family, and playing the old pump organ when I was a child of 5 and 6.
Your compositions are, in fact, often Celtic in theme, or specifically Cornish in theme, aren't they?
Yes, something grabs me whenever I read poetry about the Cornish landscape, and I've set many of John Betjeman's poems to music and find that they come instantly, like turning a tap on and the water comes out, and the songs really write themselves. And somehow the harmonies have been adjudicated in the festivals to have been Celtic in sound, so I'm very pleased about that, and of course that's one reason I love it here.
Yes, you've skirted around saying that you've actually won the competition classes at the Cornwall Music Festival for, I don't know how many occasions, 3 times, is it?
Well, it's been 4 or 5 years, I believe, along with you, John.
Yeah. Do you feel part of Cornwall now, or do you still feel very much separate?
No, I felt adopted by Cornwall from the time I arrived. I really have wonderful friends here, and I've never felt as a stranger. I felt I came home. I feel it's my spiritual home, and certainly it's a place where I would, I hate to recommend it now, what with people saying keep all the foreigners out, but I really do feel at home here and wouldn't ever want to go back to the States to live. The quality of life in Cornwall and the way that people smile and talk and think and live is the way I want to live, and I greatly appreciate it and feel very privileged.
And a more specific point, slightly changing the question, what do you think about the general progress of Cornish music? Because you have a sort of overview of the Cornish music scene that some others might not have. How do you see Cornish music, how has it developed, and how do you see it developing in the future?
Well, I've been very impressed with the quality of the music festivals here, and as a result, I actually ask and look for singers for my music, and I've been delighted with the quality of performance and the fact that many of us are coming together for the purpose of sharing our music and to bring attention to the fact that there is wonderful music here and absolutely outstanding voices.
So you think that Cornwall's distinctive music is essentially sung music, it's music of the voice rather than music of instruments?
Well, so far that's my bent, if you were. I seem to gravitate to solo singing and choir singing in particular, and I love the sound of male voice choirs.
Do you think the Cornish choirs are as good as the Welsh?
I think they're much better. They're much deeper, stronger, and there's something about them. When I heard them in America, I felt as though I was told, you sing from the heart, and that's for sure. I mean, that's where it is at. People don't sight read music here that easily, but they sing from the heart, and that's what counts.
Ha henw yn gwirionedd heb dawdfydd, cana a ren dywrth yn golon, ha brasar an a hanan, cawsal a ren dywrth yn golon yn werth me gris. Ha lemon del lever Monty Python, nepeth diffrans in tien. Here to end today's programme is a short extract from a new cassette that's been produced by Agan Tavas, one of the groups involved in the Yeth and Werin meetings that I've described before. The tape is called Flows ha Furneth, Nonsense and Wisdom, and it's described as Cymysg a Hwethlo Gwario ha Barddoniaeth, a mixture of stories, games and poetry. It's a very amusing, very entertaining tape, all in Cornish, and here's a short extract, the old story about the farmer who rears the chickens with 4 legs, because, as he says, mi a gar yar hep mar. I like a chicken leg, of course.
For sure there, Cynthia. Every 7-11 with Pigeon, Kerrrose, and Bargain Pier, Mr. Ladysmith Janker. The Free, Alamaguella's Yorve. But Delta Cluers, Manibas and Avalas Condradro. And Alamaguella's Mr. Jankers. Efa the Varas, the Fia Efa Bahana. Leven. Kroeder Kroghen, Mr. Jenker.
Kroeder Kroghen, Kroeder Kroghen. Brian Prince van Ninjua. Ninjas never were.
That's Agan Tavas with their new tape, Flows Hafurnes. Well, I'm afraid that's all we have time for this week. Next week, I'll be introducing you to the two people who I think are respectively the youngest and the oldest Cornish speakers in Cornwall. And in between now and then, you might like to speculate as to what exactly their ages are. I think you'll be surprised. But until then, I'll say again, Diu Genachwi. God be with you. Diu Genachwi all.